Type. Hello, my name is Dominic.
Uh,
Welcome to Dissonant Waves.
Hello,
This is the newest
I'm
episode,
also here.
episode 145. And Ritz is here. I'm here. Trix is somewhere in the ether. We got a bunch of
She's
stuff to talk
gone.
about. She might be back. We'll see. It is early on our end, so, things happen. But we have Shakey Graves, movie of the week to talk about. We have Jeff Rosenstock's HELLMODE to talk about. We have Naaki Soul's Nylon Songs to talk about. We also have the Out Loud Chicago compilation, as well as Neutral Milk Hotel's Everything Is, and You've Passed, plus where you'll find me now early versions, and Everything is the 2011 slash now the streaming version of the song on like Spotify and Bandcamp and what have you, effectively, I guess, replacing what we listened to before. So that's fun.
Mm.
We like when Neutral Milk Hotel releases new stuff here and there. But I know Ritz, and without Tricks here to mount a proper defense, I suppose the place we start is with Mr. Shakey Graves, Mr. Alejandro Rose Garcia himself.
I mean, I'll just start off by saying I don't think there's really a defense needed. I'm not going to attack this album. I actually have nothing to attack about it. I think it's when it comes to all the Shaky Graves that we've listened to, and usually it's a bit of Stockholm Syndrome and stuff like that. And I don't actually think this is his best. I think the best will forever be that live album, in which that actually showed me why to like Shaky Graves, because I thought he was actually pretty captivating as a live musician, even in an album format. Here, I did kind of still appreciate what was going on here. Now, there's been a bit more opening up to country this year from me, from the old side of it, which is still miles ahead of this. I there wouldn't be any day for me personally where I would be arguing which is better, Wednesday or Shaky Graves. It's Wednesday by far.
Sure, yeah.
But I do appreciate what's happening in this record. And this is also coming from a lot more bro fucking country coming into Australia now and having to hear that trash. Just getting all this and all this concept. This is still kind of a bit slacker, is the way that I'd kind of describe some of this. It felt a very, if slacker country is a term.
I really heard it, but fuck, who cares? We can coin it now.
It's very slow pace, but does not say that slow pace is a bad thing here. It very much allows itself to take its time for everything to move forward. It goes at a very slow BPM. To a point where you did some comparisons throughout the week to Big Scary.
That's not the only big comparison I think that we made here, but yes, that's a big one.
But that was a big comparison that you've done, and there are songs in which I do agree and see, because now obviously Big Scary has created a range that they go to in most of their albums. I know Daisy and Me and You were both kind of like separate BPMs. One was faster, one was slower. But if you say go to like Animal, that's one where it really ranges in the speed, the sounds, blah blah blah, etc. etc. I don't want to get stuck in Big Scary. But there are kind of, when Big Scary do very minimalistic songs, they are, I wouldn't call them slacker. I would still call them very pop in how they do it, or alternative pop. But it did have some very similar vibes to what songs like Heartstopper do show off.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's interesting. I feel like if Big Scary were to cover Heartstopper, they would actually probably do it better. They really fucking kill it, I feel like, with their version of this. But I can hear I can hear how they would do it is the weird thing, if that makes sense. Like, I'm so distracted by it in a way that I'm mostly focusing on how would Big Scary do this, because I just hear like that piano. I hear how it's Tom Isaac, right? Can't remember his name.
Yeah, Iron Sack, sorry, Ian Sack.
Yeah, Iron Sack. I can just hear how he would sing it, which is a weird experience. I don't really commonly think of, like, how would someone else handle this song? But there's something about the piano and like the way it is kind of presented that sounds like those like slower, big, scary moments. That being said, this album feels like, because we talk about like alt finding country, like emo finding country. This feels like the opposite of country finding alt, and like country expanding towards a more slacker rock mainstream esque approach in that way. And so I hear a lot of like the Radiohead stuff. I hear Of Montreal in this. I hear the Big Scary in this. And so there's a evolution of sound, absolutely. But we're kind of having, the pull from one direction. Now we're getting a push from the other, where everything's kind of like trying to equalize on some kind of scale that's like, let's take inspiration from this. Let's take inspiration from that. Let's take some country. Let's take some alt. Let's put it all together in a blender. Not that kind of a blender. A different kind of blender. But does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I somewhat get what you mean on that. I mean, to me, yeah, I do think this album is a bit of our favorite word is blender. Not so much again in the bad way where everything is just the same. I do think there is some differences in how everything goes, but everything is going under the same theme sonic wise.
Yeah, and it's like a song like Limbo or Evergreen or Low Life that really feels like early 2000s Radiohead, for example. Especially because like there's a little bit of that like play with like TV or the radio kind of mixing in, like little random bits and pieces. And like Radiohead was doing a little bit of that stuff. And then like Of Montreal, like there's that mix of country and alternative that I think like lastly what Sylvia and Briar did that I can kind of feel a little bit of echoing here. Like maybe not Ready or Not, because that's like the most country song we've got here, but like there are certain songs that feel like that mix is alive again, where it's like that country twang is there, some of those country like song progressions are there, but there's like enough weirdness, enough of like I can kind of see a Kevin Barnes doing something with this that I'm like, okay. Shakey Graves is clearly pulling from different inspirations, and I think his other albums are like based in.
It's again, it's weird. I mean, I'm also fully admit to how my listening habits have been over the past while. I can only give this stuff as many listens as I do, and I actually came into this with probably the most excited I was to a Shakey Graves when you gave me that Big Scary comparison, because I'm like, oh, maybe this will be the Shakey Graves studio album that turns me on to him. Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't. But my big problem that came with the listening is the same thing about just Shakey Graves to me. For a lot of it is that it's why I like the live album, because the live album was full of a lot of moments I could remember after giving it the listens and the listens and listens. And honestly, if you put the Shakey Graves on in the background, I will never tell you to turn it off. Because I'm stressing out again. I do not hate listening to this album. It's nice to listen to. I'm giving it a compliment there. I don't have anything bad to say about it. But I struggle still with Shakey Graves' music to just ever get it stuck in my head. To ever get... the closest it's probably ever gotten stuck in my head is Roll of Bones. And that's because the riff on there I think was pretty. But that's it's just a big thing for enjoying music. Like, there's a certain moment when you realize that you like a song, and that's when it gets... It's not always the case, I guess, but there is a lot, is when certain moments... I'm not talking about when a really catchy song gets stuck like an earworm.
Mm-hmm.
Because that happens a lot. That's doesn't mean it's a good song. Everybody fucking remembers Baby Shark.
Yes.
And that's not a good song. But what makes, just for me, is when just randomly, like, I can make connections to a song, or it just randomly pops up in my head, is just singing along to the lyrics or trying to be into that. And it doesn't happen to every artist, it doesn't to that. And nor, I mean, maybe one day it will happen to Shakey Graves, but it's just, I struggle to even force that to happen. I really struggle to remember his music
That
after hearing him.
that's
I
fair. And I think, for
I
me,
can remember how it goes. I can remember kind of how it sounds like, but it's just, to me, it's just going to be an artist that I think, and to everyone, they will always have these artists, and it's not even a case of I don't get it, because I get it. I just really can't get into this.
and that's why I was like, I wish Trix was here to kind of defend it in a way, not that it needs to be defended, but more that she's very passionate about Shakey Graves. I really like Shakey Graves as well, but like,
Yeah.
she really wanted to pick this, so like, I was hoping she'd be here to like talk about it in some way where it's like putting it in context for her. Like for me, this is probably one of his best albums. I think it's really cohesive and it has interesting like departures from what he's known for. Like comparing this to Roll the Bones is like night and day. Like you have an album that's just like acoustic performances and little weird side stories and things compared to this like really interestingly
Yeah,
mixed like album.
there is definitely I won't say, I won't put out any bullshit and say this sounds like his other albums. I do think Shakey Graves does actually have a pretty good style change and different stuff. I mean, this is completely different in its production. It is minimalistic, but there's still quite a lot more added into it.
He's backing
Like, I
himself on
think
the
it's a
choruses and
yeah.
like there's like
Well,
synths going on.
I think probably might be his best studio album to me. It might still be Can't Wake Up just for what enjoyment was, but in the end, it's still just for me. The only one I'll ever see me going back to is still that live album, because that captured what I think Shakey Graves is interesting for. I think he's probably one of if he ever does a live show, I'd be tempted to see it, and that's pretty good for somebody that I'm not interested in studio wise.
I mean, would you be more interested or less interested knowing that his live stuff, like his show, will probably be a lot of this album?
That's a good question, because that would change what a lot of the live show would be.
Like I'm sure he'll play, the standards. He'll play Roll the
Uh,
Bones. He'll play,
yeah.
some of the others. But I would be I know he's touring. I don't know if he has hit Chicago yet. I forget. But if he hasn't, and I have the opportunity to, maybe I'll go see him. I kind of want to hear how he plays these live because I'm so used to hearing him do the whole busker thing, right? Where he has the fucking little suitcase of instruments that he's playing all at the same time, and the guitar,
Mm.
he's got the drum kit, he's doing this, he's got the harmonica, blah 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 blah. But this is not stuff you can just do that with. Like there's samples here, there is, all the little Atari noises, which I thought was like a fun thing. He's not abandoning those roots, but he's like finally allowing himself to like expand sonically in a way that's exciting in a way because it's like the first decade or so of his career, I feel like so much of that was so dedicated to the stripped back, simple man and guitar, sparse instrumentation. But like Can't Wake Up, this kind of the EP that we listened to last year, it all kind of is pushing him in a different direction that is exciting. And I think could push him towards some of those really interesting psychedelic heights of Montreal or some of those really interesting and weird compositions that Radiohead has done if he continues and if he continues to get better. Because I think, like I was saying with the big scary piece with Heartstopper and everything, I hear the song that Heartstopper can be, and I think Heartstopper is a little bit too long. It belabors the point a bit too much. But that chorus is really cool. I like that hook. It sticks in my mind a lot. I want to hear what that song could be so much.
I've really probably already said my piece about
Yeah.
this record. I think it's if you're really into Shakey Graves, you probably already know that he's into these stylish, like small style changes, album to album, and I think you'd be really happy with this one. If you're like me, you'll probably have it as a nice little background listen. And if you hate Shakey Graves, I don't think it's really going to change your opinion. But
Yeah.
I mean, if the important thing is, if you like Shakey Graves, it is not just the same. It is another Shakey Graves album, and he's executed it as well as the other ones. I haven't really read too much into the lyrics, admittedly. It's not been too much for me to research.
Sure.
So he could be spouting any bullshit in those lyrics for all I care. Um,
The story for this album
yeah,
apparently
that's basically.
is that he was asked to do a movie soundtrack, and I guess the pieces that he was turning in were very different from what the director was looking for, like concerning like the tone of the piece and his understanding of the movie and all of that. So after a while, he kind of just left the project and made this his own thing, which is
Are we ever
interesting.
going to get the Petite League movie soundtrack?
I don't know. Did he do exclusive songs for that, or is it just them using a lot of his stuff?
I don't know. I think they wrote some songs for that. I could be wrong. Let me check that out right now if it's on here. But I thought they wrote a couple songs for it, even if it's just an
Maybe.
EP.
I don't know. I mean, he is releasing
I,
like a song a month right now, so that is cool.
yeah, I still need to listen to the new one.
I did too. Yeah. While you're looking that up, other things I'm gonna say for this, yeah, like I said, he's putting samples into this. He's doing the Atari like video game stuff that has like, a little bit of like nostalgic flair to it, and I think that stuff is done intentionally versus just like some person trying to reference video games. I think Shakey Graves is hip enough to know what an Atari sound is versus like what a Nintendo sound is versus what a modern game sounds like. So I think there's supposed to be something to that, but I don't quite understand if I'm not looking at the lyrics. But there's a certain amount of sadness and nostalgia there that I'm curious about. Um, I do also want to highlight songs like "Play It Where It Lies" and "Playing Along," and that though like there's a really interesting break in instrumentation around that point in the album where things get really slowed down and instrumental, and it kind of stops making pure song structure sense, and things kind of get loosey goosey for a minute where it's like playing along kind of just picks up in the middle of all this instrumentation like without vocals, and it kind of picks back up into a song. It's like, oh, that's really interesting that you would cut there and make that the next song and that kind of stuff. And that was not something I quite expected to hear, considering, again, Shakey Graves very much known for like, here's some guitar riffs, here is some vocals, and we're moving on. This is more compositional in a way that I was intrigued by.
I'm still trying to find the soundtrack to see if I can get any confirmation if it's
Yeah.
that right now. But I swear one of them. Oh, just gotta find it on Petite League. Only the good survive.
I do like the
Bloody hell.
movie of the week kind of TV movie motif. I don't think it comes across super strong past like the first half of the album, but it's there. And I will say, if you are somebody who heard the single "Ready or Not" before this, and we're like, oh, okay, Shakey Graves is doing more of a country vibe, like a modern country vibe. Like, no, this isn't quite that. That song I feel like stands out for being the most country that's on the album, like the most country rooted song. I don't think it's super indicative of everything else that's here. In a way, it kind of stands out as like something he probably did before he did the rest of these, but it's on the album. It's there. It actually fits in quite well for what it is, but I can definitely feel a little bit of disconnect having that play.
So excited to see Only the Good Survive come to life in a true bucket list cross off for me being asked to contribute a lot of Petite League and original songs from the movie's soundtrack.
Okay.
A few sleepless nights to hit some deadlines. So it seems like, yes, there is some original work on that.
That is cool. I would love to hear that
It's not
stuff.
just, not just pre-recorded. Anyway, I'll be dead on honest. I don't really have a favorite or a least favorite here.
That's totally fair. I quite like
And
quite a
I
bit of
was
this album.
a little tuned out. Yeah, so yeah, I was wondering. I was hoping I didn't miss that. Miss yours.
No, that's fine. I think Limbo was cool. I like Low Life. Kind of like I said, the "Play It Where It Lies" playing along part is really interesting to me. My least favorite's probably like Century City or Was Here. And Heartstopper is like a song that I like, but I wish it was more. It was edited a little bit more, and like that chorus, that part toward the end, really stuck out better because it's so good. It really builds up to a good place, but it just kind of it's too loose. It whiffs it a little bit better. All right, that's
Which
Shakey
one do we want
Graves.
to move on to?
I kind of want to pivot
We
from talking about this exact thing of like building up a song and then paying it off. That's something that Jeff Rosenstock's pretty good about.
This album just really goddamn fucks.
HELLMODE, indeed.
So Jeff Rosenstock, HELLMODE, Jeff Rosenstock, absolute legend in the ska and pop punk scene, has produced albums for the shit ton of people, including, I mean, over here he produced 2 Smith Street Band albums. That just happened. Bombed the music industry, probably one of the most influential punk ska bands of the noughties, basically changing the DIY scene, having this huge fuck you to the music industry uh, theme about them, basically just refusing money as they can, just playing music for the sake of playing music. And Jeff Rosenstock still just does that. You can download this album for free still, even though he's on polyvinyl.
Yeah.
He's only stopped touring for a little bit here because he's gotten COVID. So
Oh
unfortunate
shit.
timing for us recording on that.
That's
Um,
unfortunate.
this this goes hard, man. For 40 minutes, it slows down and then picks up, and it's satisfying basically every time.
This is one of those albums that grows on me quite a bit the more I listen to it. Like the first time I listened to it, I'm like, all right, this is fine. This is interesting enough. But the more I've listened to it, the more I've gotten into it. And I feel like, if you let it cook, this could really be something.
Well, I talk about with Shakey Graves not having all those memorable moments. Here, there is so many memorable moments.
Yeah, and like his song structure seems to be kind of like build the song, build it up, ramp it up, and then have that last minute or two really pay off. And there's a number of
The
songs
crazy
here
thing
that
is,
do
as
it.
well, there is actually a really well written song structure to basically every song, but he's managed to do it in a way that sounds like there's no structure.
Yeah, like
The opening song does quite a lot, but it's still actually all kind of in the same structure.
and I find myself remembering moments. Like there are like specific moments that I really like versus like maybe the whole song itself. Like Will You Still You, like
Did you listen to the? Did you listen, by the way, to the offline version, which
ah
included
shit, I
I
forgot.
believe the one sample, which is at the end of Head, where it's Marge Simpson going, "It's true, but he shouldn't stay it." Say it, so.
That sounds like it'd be a fun inclusion. I was gonna buy this at some point, so I'll
Mm.
probably listen to it when I buy it. But like Will You Still You, like I like that song enough, it's fine. And then it breaks down into that really shredding guitar. And that moment is just so like chef's kiss perfect to me. It just sounds so cool.
And then straight after the shredding guitar, it goes into the kind of like boppy guitar.
Yes. Another really cool moment on that it's like the
Yeah.
song is fine, and then it breaks into that, and I'm like, holy shit. And then like Future is Dumb does the same thing where it's good, and then he breaks into that last
And then the
minute of
outro
like,
of the world doesn't owe you, the world doesn't owe you, the world doesn't owe you. Fact, and it fucks, man. That really just fucks.
yeah.
I was listening to it on the train to Concord yesterday. I just like to myself, do not shout out in the middle, the middle of the fucking train station. You want to, but don't. Because shit.
And like there's stuff in like Future is Dumb and Soft Living where it's like you start to notice the certain musical motifs he's repeating, and like that then kind of pays off with Three Summers at the end. That's very like built because like the whole album seems to be leading up to that. where it's like
But
this
that's a
7 minute
crazy thing.
epic.
Like, that is the 7 minute epic. We talk about all this shit that happens in all these songs, and the longest song before Free Summers goes for 4.5 minutes,
And
or a
it's the
bit
one
over
right
four
before it.
minutes 46.
Or actually, no, it's Soft Living. Yeah.
Yeah, Soft Living. So I mean, it's not like the short songs, but it's still quite a lot that happens in not the longest periods of time. So Free Summers is probably the only time in which you get a very long song, and the ideas can breathe. And it feels weird that I'm saying that the ideas don't need to breathe, and Jeff Rosenstock kind of realizes that, because it's basically like you get a lot of just good shit in a song. We're not. Sometimes ideas need to breathe, but basically in this, the chaos is the idea.
Yeah, and like that again, established really, really well with "Will You Still You." Like the chaos of that guitar breakdown is just so fun and so just in your face. It just colors everything else coming after it.
And then
Like,
I'd probably say the least chaotic song on here, which was the lead single, is "Liked You Better."
yeah, and I think was it "HELLMODE" that's a little more acoustic driven as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Jeff Rosenstock is like one of those people that I've always heard about. I never really listened to before. Like I've had friends, like my friend that likes Cheekface really likes Jeff Rosenstock, right? So it's like I've
I
always
can
heard
see
those
that.
names
Yeah.
in like concert. So like finally breaking down and listening to it, it's like okay, I'm really starting to see what the hype is, right? But again, it's one of those things where it's gonna grow on me, and I'm sure the more we cover, the more I'm really gonna fucking like what's going on. Like this is the first exposure, right? So this is like the first volley. But if we do explore more,
Well, just remember, like the last album he put out was Scar Dream, which is
right?
a Scar version of his previous album.
Yeah, and
There's
like,
always just been some fun to Jeff Rosenstock.
and that sounds really cool. That sounds like something I'd love to visit at some point. And it's like there's all the other projects he's been in, whether that's Arrogant Sons of Bitches or about the music industry or any of the other weird shit that he's done.
But the insane part to me is not that he's put out a Scar album though. It's that it's fucking good. Like he's covered his own album,
Yeah,
and to some people it's better. For me, it's probably about the same quality. It's just, but that's insane to just like remake your album in a completely different tone. And there are songs on there that are genuinely better than the original version.
I'm not surprised. I feel like he seems to be someone that knows how to like write a good song and like choose a genre for it, and then like if he chooses another genre, that song is still gonna be pretty good.
Mm.
That's the fun thing about making good
Plus,
songs.
I can't remember which one it is, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Rosenstock also appeared to help cover a song with Cartoon Network.
That's not surprising to me at all.
Yeah, that was just. Oh, yeah, it's not surprising, but it's funny. What song was it? It's Well, there's a live recording, so it was also apparently in a live show. It was A-Punk.
Okay. Again, I do want to point to. I think Jeff also has a little bit of that like '60s influence. A song like "Life Admin" made me think of like early of Montreal in a weird way. Like the Cherry Peel era, like that kind of like cutesy '60s, like I don't know. There's like a vibe to it that's kind of fun and like adorable, if that makes sense. It's just a little bit cleaner, a little bit more modern than like a '90s song like anything on Cherry Peel would be. But then it's like the heavier guitar kind of shakes the hypothesis a little bit, but before the heavy guitar comes in, it's like this is fun, this is cute, this is like alt indie in a way. And I think Jeff is kind of embracing that chaos in a way that reminds me of like fifth wave emo, where he's centering around kind of pop punk and stuff, but you can definitely kind of see the other influences of things coming in. That he's not afraid to pivot and
Well,
come back.
you know why you're probably going to get some fifth wave emo comparisons here.
Why?
The album's produced by Jack Shirley.
Yes, the same person that produced The Wailer.
Yes.
That's right?
So
Yeah.
it's yeah. So it's not the furthest stretch to be making there.
No,
That is just a little interesting connection that we have now. But
And like the guitar tone too reminds me of like a Carly Cosgrove or a Homeless Ware guitar tone. So hearing some of that kind of come in, like I think it might be Heal Mode where I hear it and I'm still thinking of like See You in Chemistry or something that like is done on the
Mm.
Whaler or something like that.
Mm. And then we haven't actually talked about probably the shortest song on here. I think it is actually the shortest song on here, which comes right after Will You Still You Head, which is it's incredibly fast paced. It's again one of the songs that doesn't actually have too much stylistic changes happening for through and through and through. It's basically the same song for its entire duration, but it goes fucking hard.
Yeah,
He keeps the energy. He keeps the energy up for the whole song. And I know it's not a long song, but it's still a great little just burst of energy that happens randomly right after. Like it's the rest of the album doesn't have that kind of short song, so it's not like there's these fillers or anything in there. It's at this point just basically a full song.
yeah, it's just the second song on the album. It's shorter, but it's definitely a full
Yeah,
song. And he's like 41 now, I think, something like that. And it's like he's this far into his career and he still has this energy and still has this zest and hunger, and I
yeah.
really appreciate that. Like, what was Paul McCartney doing 20 years into his career? Was that when he was doing the James Bond soundtrack stuff? Was he still coming
It's
across?
okay to leave a dog in a hot car. Hot car.
No,
That's probably what he was doing.
20 years in, he was probably this is probably the 80s when he was doing Temporary Secretary. So that's
Yeah.
a little bit of a different thing there. But no, like I can
Now,
even
Trix, do you
see.
have anything to say about Jeff Rosenstock? Now, Trix is dead. Trix has apparently joined us,
Oh, hello, Trix. Did
but
not
she's
notice.
dead.
She'll figure it out in a moment.
She'll figure it out. I think her microphone's dead, but she's coming online.
Yes, but so like
And I've talked. Actually, yeah, you were talking. Finish
I can
this.
hear the ska that could be in some of these songs too. Like Future is Done would be a fun ska song. Absolutely.
Mm.
You throw some horns on there, and I don't know. I feel like you really have something.
Now I've talked a little about it as well, saying it's like one of the most structured. But Liked You Better is probably going to be really high up in my top 100 by the end of this year.
One of
It is stuck in my head in such a good way.
one of my lesser favorite songs on here. Not my least necessarily, but the the normalcy of it doesn't strike me as much as some of the other stuff that's going on here.
It it it's not the most impressive song in the sake of look what's been done on this record, but it is the catchiest. It's one of those when songs are like that, you either really love it or you're just really uh indifferent to it.
Yeah, I feel like the
I don't
indifference.
really think you can hate songs like it, but there's just this charm to the song that's just really fun. I don't. It's definitely not like it's lyrically out there, but there's just a lot of lines that are really fun to sing along into it. Like it's so fucking tiring being tired all the time. Uh, in this way, kind of just describing their hatred to this person.
Yeah, I mean, there's also I think great lines about like Aaron Carter and a Target screaming, "Is it a mistake?" Like
Yeah,
on Soft Living. It's like moments like that I'm gonna
yeah.
definitely remember more than Like You Better. I feel like.
I mean,
Tricks, you here?
it's an album. I don't think is Trix here. I think she's still a bit dead. It's an album that I don't think beats The Whaler. I don't even think it beats Wednesday yet. We'll see. That's where it gets a bit dicey. This is generally one of my favorite albums of this year. It just goes hard. It's really catchy. There's so much just energy that vibes. Some really satisfying build-ups and payoffs. It's just so delicious. I, I I like it. Good album. It's not a 10 for me, but I don't even think I have a least favorite.
That's totally fair. I don't know if I'm quite that high in it, but I do quite like it as far as this year goes. And the more I listen to it,
Yeah.
the more it's going to grow on me. So I'm curious how far it'll take itself. But I'm flipping my pages to see where I had my rankings. Um, yeah, my rankings have changed quite a bit already between 2 days ago and now. I will say that. So like,
The one I'm going to compare it to actually, because I'm now having seen your tens. Actually, I'm just looking at the top 10 things you've listened to this year. It's the recent one of that. We're going to compare it to Spanish love songs here because I
yeah,
didn't really get a much live. I did finally catch up on your opinions on Spanish love songs, but I'm gonna ask the comparison of that because they've both been artists that I think with Jeff Rosenstock I have gotten into probably earlier, but Spanish love songs I really only got into this year. So I think for both these artists, they are artists that we've been meaning to get into for a while or cover for a while. So it's now
yeah.
interesting to see where we kind of put them both now that we've actually covered an album for them.
I mean, Spanish love songs for me. That album, No Joy, is so good and just no skips. It's all just consistent quality in a way that is so rare to hear. Every song just
Uh,
hits. Every song is just good.
I like that Spanish love songs album. Like I saw the comparisons in the talk about Hot Mulligan, and I think like I probably agree. The Hot Mulligan ones for me is like an album that a couple good songs in it, but as a full, it's alright at best. And then Spanish love songs clears it, but I think I enjoy the Jeff Rosenstock more than Spanish.
That's I can see why, but like Jeff Rosenstock, even if I come to really like it more than I even do now, I still think it'll be lower than Spanish love songs for me because it doesn't uniformly have those highs. There's definitely peaks and valleys in a way that they're just songs I don't really like as much. They're just songs that don't really strike me as super cool or interesting in the way that everything on No Joy is like, oh wow, holy shit. Even the worst song on No Joy is still interesting for some reason.
Oh no, I would agree with that.
Here, I don't necessarily feel that as much. There are great moments. There are great, wonderful things to love about HELLMODE. It's just not the same for me.
HELLMODE is fun.
Hey, we got tricks.
I had to switch to push to talk.
If it works, it works.
HELLMODE is
Well, if you
fun.
got anything quick to say, tricks, I would say it. I would say it now because we're gonna move on soon.
This was a bad week for listening for me, so I really don't have too much to say.
Okay. How about Shakey Graves? Anything there
Just
you want to say real quick?
That was the best Shakey Graves album.
Yeah. Anything else specifically you like
well,
about
there's
it?
the defense you wanted, Dominic.
I there's not much. It's a phenomenal album. No notes, really good.
I
I think we've probably said everything that tricks would probably agree on anyway.
The one thing I will say about the Shakey Graves album real quick is that I don't know if I like it more than Roll the Bones X, specifically Roll the Bones X, because that album to me is so unique and special. The way it hit me listening to it the first time and coming out of nowhere, that I think I might like that more for how magical it feels to me. But this is probably his best work as an album outside of that. Like as a full album without extras, this is probably the best thing he's done. But yes, back to Jeff Rosenstock.
We can just do favorites and least favorites and move
Yeah,
on. All right.
that's fine.
Favorites: Will You, Still You, Liked You Better, Doubt, The Future Is Dumb. I If I really have to pick a least favorite, it'd probably be Graveyard Song, just by the process of elimination.
That's
It's
fair.
not. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me. I think it's one of those. I like it quite a lot, but it's just not there for me. Just not. Maybe one day.
Me, I really like Future is Dumb and Soft Living, Three Summers as well. My least favorite's probably somewhere in the Liked You Better, I Want to Be Wrong Graveyard Song mode of things. Will You Still Use also very fun. So, That is Jeff Rosenstock. Tricks. You said it was a hard week of listening, so nothing really to say of note, I guess, on that. Favorite, least favorites front. Guess not. Okay.
Remember, you push to talk. Remember that, Tricks. She's dying again.
Anyway, let's go from
now since Tricks has got absolutely no control. Yeah, what are we picking?
Let's go from Jeff to Jeff.
That was the best segue you've done in your life.
Let's talk about New Jubal Hotel again.
This is actually, I'll let you introduce first, and then I'll put in my take.
We've listened to Everything Is before. We listened to. I think you had a different version than we did. I don't know how that all exactly worked out. So I think you heard like Ruby Bulbs before in context, but I really had not. So getting to hear these new songs and also the way that like songs on Avery Island were originally done is super cool. I really, really dig having that historical context and hearing more. Like here we are, Unborn and Ruby Bulbs being kind of the new songs off Everything Is mixed in with everything else. It's a fun little thing.
It was Snow Song was the one that was. It was both Everything Is and Snow Song got added onto On Avery Island.
Oh, really?
I think that was the one I was referencing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Because the thing, Everything Is originally was like a single with Snow Song as the B-side. And then it evolved from there to now it's like this 12-inch with like 6 or 7 songs on it. So what is your take?
The alternate versions of You've Passed and Where You'll Find Me Now are a lot more interesting than Everything Is. Everything Is, I think, is just a title track, and then
that's fine. I mean, it's the first EP.
Now let's not say that this is bad. I think there was some really nice moments on there. Tuesday Moon is a really nice soft track. It is still interesting what is on here and what it sounds like. The difference between Everything Is and Here We Are in production quality is insane as it is.
Oh yeah, like the new tracks get lower in quality the more we go.
Yeah. It's odd. I think it's, if you started off here with Neutral Milk Hotel, it's obviously a starting place. If you had heard him when this was released, when Everything Is was pushed out as a single, then yeah, that natural evolution that you hear is a lot more interesting. In the case of, it is a good addition to the sound that Neutral Milk Hotel have, but basically everything that they've done afterwards, which is basically on Avery Island, we want to talk about specifically for this sound, it is so much more interesting listening into it in the context of the album. I think it's kind of like a collection of B-sides, demos, or just outtakes that they have on this, to be honest. I mean, I think it's Aunt Egma Blowtorch. It sounds like a weaker Pre-Sisters.
Yeah, it is the sound collage that, has existed on the last version and now on this version. I don't know if that was the version you listened to or not necessarily, but it is a thing that is there. And it's kind of interesting, but I think Pre-Sisters is much more of an interesting track.
Yeah. And then the reason why I say that You've Passed Where You'll Find Me Now goes more interesting is because it's now interesting to hear. I find hearing what could have been the sound that on Avery Island could have been is a bit more interesting than hearing the sound that it was in a demo format.
Oh, yeah. I think if on Avery Island sound like Everything Is, that's what it would sound like. And that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And like just even hearing like the song like writing evolution between Everything Is and these tracks, like he was putting in the work. He was definitely amping up his game in a really fast paced way. And like having Where You'll Find Me Now,
I can't say I would ever go back to. Sorry, you talk first.
I was saying with Where You'll Find Me Now, like this is also before Baby for Pre is a thing. I'm guessing. I think that probably came later. So it's kind of like hearing the song in its raw state. And I think the Where You'll Find Me Now is the better demo of the two. Because it just sounds the most different.
Of the two, yes. Yes, that did surprise me. like hearing it, I was like, oh, okay, it's obviously Where You'll Find Me Now, but it's so different and yet the same. It's actually really interesting. The problem I find is just all of this is that, again, since we now have like the newer versions and the new sounds and all of these, I prefer to go back to On Avery Island than I ever would to these. And it's not even that these are bad; these are still good. Jeff Mangum is one of the most incredible songwriters to have ever existed.
Yes,
but it's cursed that because he's one of the best songwriters to ever existed, he's written better songs, and that's just what kind of like it's. I'm trying not to obviously fully compare when I'm ranking and judging this because there is still a very interesting sound going on with what is a very lo-fi EP, and yet somehow has some very clear moments of very or just experimental moments. Which remember this would have all been recorded when bloody
early
probably
90s.
early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some of the stuff on here is just unheard of. So it is absolutely insane for the time, but it's funnily enough, it doesn't hold up because of themselves.
Yes.
And that's just how I feel about it.
Like if everything was like 89 or 90 to 92, then like the early versions of You Passing Will Find Me Now are like 94, right? So you have that 2-year gap, and then the 2-year gap between these recordings and what On Avery Island became, right? It's like I feel like there's so much of stuff that happened there that we don't really have access to still. That's like, holy shit. You know, like just giving him better production quality and like better recording material. It's like, my God, fucking flew with it. And he learned like, hey, I don't know if I like having this whole band thing happen all the time. Let's strip it back. Like that's the fun thing of Live at Jittery Joe's that I really like so much is hearing those Aeroplane songs before And the Airplane Over the Sea came out. And hearing the differences.
Live at Jittery Joe's also has the like the benefit of just being one of the wildest live albums to have ever been recorded because it's just it's funny how lo-fi it is, but yet how fitting it is for Jeff Mangum.
Somebody French kissed this man.
Yes.
Thanks, Trix.
Live at Jittery Joe's is such an amazing live album. It's incredible. And again, that's the
Trix, I'm begging you, go back to Push to Talk.
I'm pushing to talk.
You're
Beautiful.
Scraping on something.
Yeah, you had a lot of static coming in your mic.
It's because I'm on an old ass phone.
Hell yeah. Anyway, as you were saying, sorry, Dominic.
No, like again, hearing that evolution and just my God. He is just really good, and I think having the counterpoint of these two songs versus the EP in its current state is part of what makes this interesting, right? It's like, cool. In 2023, this stuff is way more accessible to us versus like, you know, sailing the high seas, as it were, and trying to find all of the old unreleased mixtapes and things, which we can still do at some point, which I would still love to have.
After all my years, I finally found it. Tickets to the SpongeBob movie. That's what Sailing the High Seas reminded me of.
But, you know, as someone who never got to see them live when I had every intention of doing so, having stuff like this is at least cathartic in a way. So, it's nice. It's not gonna be my favorite of the week, but like, I really like revisiting Neutral Milk Hotel.
Favorites. I'm just gonna actually judge it all as one thing during my favorites here. I'll rank it. Where You Find Me Now, alternative version, is the best out of all of this. Everything Is, the single, is the next best. And I like Tuesday Moon. I think it was a very nice, simple track. Least favorites probably aren't Egma Blowtorch. It's just the sound collage is always kind of like been one of those things that Neutral Milk Hotel do. It's not that interesting, to be honest. It's just a collage. It's like, I don't know, Jeff. If you want me to put it on the fridge, I'll put it on the fridge.
I think he's much better at doing like those interview collages that he puts at the front of
Yeah.
Tuesday Moon and everything is. Yeah. Trex, you want to contribute anything to that?
Yeah, I'll agree with Ritz on favorites with that version of Where You'll Find Me Now and Tuesday Moon, but I don't really have a least favorite.
I mean, I really like Where You'll Find Me Now. I think You've Passed is also fine too. It's also it's interesting hearing that also be different. I don't like that 15 seconds of like buzzing that happens at the end of it, but that's just what you get from having old tapes. I also think hearing Ruby Bulbs after all this time, it's lo-fi as fuck, but like it's fun hearing like what a punky Jeff Mangum is like. But everything is always been fine. Nothing. It's not the super standout that like On Avery Island or Aeroplane became. At least favorite, and all of that is probably Aim Blowtorch.
And now I'm going to choose which one to move on to. Because are you ready?
Sure.
Shakey Graves is not my least favorite of the week. It's I'm sorry to say, it's Out Loud Chicago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think a lot of the covers on here, and even the one that I listen to the most, is kind of, it's okay. I like the production on it, but it's in the end just too basic of covers, or too too basic of covers. I really wanted more from it, and I just came away not really interested in anyone new or really caring much. So my least favorite of the week is Out Loud Chicago. I'm sorry to say.
To set us up a little bit, this is an EP, or not EP, like just a compilation of like
Compilation, yes.
different queer artists, I'm assuming, across Chicago that are covering, I think, queer artists more or less. I don't know if they're all necessarily queer, but that seems to be the intention to some degree. And it's a lot of unknown Chicago artists, and like ones that we now know much better. Like Mitchell J is on here covering Robin's Dancing on My Own. Okay Cool is covering Great Grandpa of all bands with Teen Challenge. You got a band called Splits covering Haley Kyoko's Girls Like Girls. The weird, interesting thing is having two Peaches covers on here. And then you have that.
Yes, Fuck the Pain Away and Love It Tits.
And then in between that, you got a fucking Blues Ma Rainey cover. And that's such a whiplash. That's very interesting to me. And then you have a band called Bringers doing a Danzig cover, and then you have Sammy Canello or Sammy Canillo, the person that put this all together, doing a country cover of Paramore in the morning. And this is all out of order. I'm talking about this, but I really like this compilation. I thought a lot of the covers.
No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you that the covers were like exactly the same every time, but I think there was just a lot that was just too expected what was going with them. I mean, even though I listened to the Dancing on My Own cover quite a lot in 2021, honestly, I've just completely ignored it since. I don't really have any reason to go back to it anymore, even though I think it's Cameron Lee who does the production on it, isn't it?
I'm assuming so, yes.
Yeah. I think it's probably actually one of the. No, it's. Wouldn't even say it's too different or anything like that, but I think Mitchell's vocals on it are really good on that. Honestly, I don't say anyone gives a bad performance on this, and I mean full credits to Sammy here for putting together this small little compilation. I'm not saying this is like a whole like shit thing that you should never listen to. It's just really uninteresting after really giving it a couple of listens. And this is like I gave this a couple of listens back when it came out, and now that I've come back to it, and I wasn't so hot on it when it came out. Now that I've like given it time and listened to it again, it's just in the end a bunch of like, I think I'd rather just for most of them hear the original versions.
I mean, that's fair. With covers, you always kind of run that risk. But I think there's interesting historical stuff of like, okay, cool, having this is like one of their earlier songs. This is like pretty much like I think this is a different direction they could still go down, where it's a little bit longer and they have a little more of like a grungy throwback to the '90s. Yeah, like I think their current direction is fine, but like they're the vocal harmonies they have on that Teen Challenge cover are really cool. Not necessarily something I expect to hear from them. Meanwhile, like the Fuck the Pain Away cover is just so, it just kind of fucks. It's really interesting. Like that song is that song, right? Like Peaches is Peaches, but like I
Yeah.
really like the spin that IMR and their band kind of like put on what that is. And then, like, because it definitely stands out in comparison to Lover Tits, which I think is probably the weakest song on here, because that just sounds more like the song to me. And even then, it's like, yeah, this is fine. I just think there's a bit of a attention grabbing going on in the Fuck the Pain Away cover that I like. And then fucking Prove It On Me
I mean,
Blues. Hell yeah.
that's fair, but I mean, the Fuck the Pain Away one's probably one of the better ones on here as well. We'll admit that one, but it's still only grabs me as much as it is. And the thing that makes the original Fuck the Pain Away as interesting as it is how rough it is. And it's kind
Sure.
of weird to hear like a more produced version of it. It honestly, the fun of that song is the roughness, and it's I mean it's a live recording, that's why it's so rough.
Right.
And that's what the official studio version apparently is, but
Apparently,
that's what kind of
Peaches will
makes it
never cover that.
a
Will never do that song again. Is kind of the idea, I guess.
yeah. Does she not ever perform it live? I swear she does that at least.
Maybe she does, but like
Oh,
the
you
what
know,
I was reading at
I'll check a
least,
picture set list right now.
what I was
But yeah,
reading is that
it
like,
would never be studio.
yeah, but having a studio
Uh,
version, it's fun.
yeah, I mean, look, it's this seems like just yeah, a a fun a fun little compilation, but
I also think
in
the
the
Girls Like
end,
Girls cover is kind of fun.
it's just hard for me to really have much to talk about. It's not even in the case of unmemorable or anything like that. It's not even like I hate this. There's no bad albums in this week, but it just
This is one you've listened to already, and you
I
kind of
try to
coming
say
back to it.
I try to say this having no insult, but just understanding what I mean. If this album didn't exist, it would not really make an impact. It's just kind of stuff that really exists as it does, and I mean, look, it's cool that it exists and stuff like that. I think it's I don't say that in a whole let's not have this exist. I say it more in just it's there, but
It doesn't quite make a
so was
case for
everything else.
itself.
That yeah,
That's fair. I disagree to a degree, but I can also see where you're coming from. Like, I think what's here is cool, but I think it doesn't go far enough into like making a case for why this had to come out. Like, I think if there was a more concerted effort at like a theme, or maybe a couple more tracks to like flesh it out a bit more, something. But like, I think having two Peaches covers is just so a weird thing. Like, I think that's part of it for me too, where it's like, yeah, they're fun songs, but like, there's only 8 here.
yeah.
If it was like 2 Paramore covers, that'd be like weirder, but it's still weird enough. No, I
Chooks,
don't
if you got anything to say, speak now.
Not much. This compilation didn't really stick with me.
speak now. Trix's version.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, actually, can we get Speak Now Trix' version? That would be just Trix with her ukulele covering Speak Now. It would be less toxic than the Ryan Adams cover album.
Remind me. And I'm actually working on getting my ukulele here.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. But yes, favorites, least favorites for this. I really like the Dancing on My Own cover. Like the Painted Way is really fun. The Girls Like Girls cover is really fun. Also, we'll give it to the Teen Challenge cover. Okay, Cool does a really good job. This is probably one of the better Okay Cool songs that exists. My least favorites are probably Lover Tits, Down Crescendo, I'm sorry. And the In the Morning cover is fun, and that's, oh yeah, they're doing the country thing. But beyond that, it's like, yeah, cool. We're in such a different place now listening to country. It's like, yeah, this is kind of fun, but not the same as it would be today.
Favorites are definitely Dancing on My Own and Fuck the Pain Away. They just at least stand out a little above the rest, even if they are still very karaoke-like. If I'm going to put it that way, I think there's at least enough work on the production there that makes them interesting. Um, Lover Tits, and it's probably Lover Tits is my least favorite. That one was on the other side of the Peaches cover. Just yeah, not enough to care about there. And Tricks, I think you're going to use the can't really tell them apart one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Blender.
All right. Well, that leaves us with one last one
We
to
got
talk
one
about.
album.
Naaki Soul.
Yeah, so we've covered a lot in the southern Australia or southern eastern Australia, uh, in the emo scene, going from Nam, a bit of Bateman's Bay as well. Now we're finally going a little bit up north here with Naaki Soul. Found this because there's a couple of people in Brisbane who have been talking about her, and then Cameron from Bigger Boot has also been talking about her because they've there's a video he's posted where he's talked about how uh, he's been friends with her on Discord for a while, and that the gig that he opened for Naaki Soul was long in the making because of it. So it's a bit of everyone else has been getting around to this. I may as well start getting around to this as well.
Fair enough.
And I want to just point out the elephant in the room about this album, and it's the one thing that's going to probably make or break this album for a lot of people is the vocals.
Yes.
The vocals are very slurry, very nasally.
So,
and it's just putting out that is going to make or break this record for a lot of people, and it's not
yes.
something always too comfortable about, because obviously with artists and stuff like that, that gets very very personal, and it's sometimes hard to put that out there. So I always encourage. I'm not too sure if it's all on purpose, if it's all just what her voice is. I don't know her too well. I'm just going to be open about that. For me personally, I am very mixed on it. There are very much times where I think it works quite well, and then other times where it does stick out. It's just what happens in this album.
I'll let Trix go first if she wants to say anything big on that, but I have a couple thoughts I wanna talk through on that front.
Yeah.
What am I talking about other than the?
So like the vocals.
Just if there's anything you want to say, but yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I only really listened to this album in passing. I don't have too much to say about it. This was a really bad week for me for listening because I didn't have a phone for most of it.
That's fair.
Yeah, that was true.
Yeah, you were getting it. You got it today, pretty much, I believe, or yesterday. So.
Yeah, yesterday.
But yeah, so with Naaki Soul, a couple things come to mind. I was reminded a lot of Seismic, believe it or not. In that, my main problem with the Seismic album was that portions felt like it was at war with the vocalist versus the band. And I think that's kind of the case here too, where I like the vocals. I like what the instruments are doing. They don't necessarily mesh well together 100% of the time. And I think part of the album is like the fight between which part is the better of the two parts, which part's overwhelming the other, which part is taking precedent. And I think the way the mixing is done, the vocals tend to be mixed above the instrumentals. And sometimes I think that works, and sometimes I think it doesn't. And it's kind of a case-by-case basis. And I kind of wish this album was mixed differently to really emphasize its strengths versus kind of... Like, this is where I think DIY self-releasing can kind of muddle an album. Because if it was something...
In a sense...
If it was something that was mixed, I think, a little more professionally, where things were a little more even-keeled, this album would be a lot better. It's still good. I like it, but it's not. It
Yeah, no,
could be better.
let's put that out here. We like this album. It is a lot more impressive than it is to be improved on. But there are still moments in which you can tell there are some rough around the edges parts.
The other thing,
I think I fixed my Discord issues.
nice.
Hell yeah.
It did not like that my battery saver was on.
That would make sense. This is where we can drain the battery. But only thing I want to say, and this, I might be making this comparison purely because of the the lead of the band is, you know, another Asian person of color and everything. And I don't mean to make that comparison like lightly or lump them together just because of that. But I feel like this is the band that Precocious Neophyte wants to be.
I get in somewhat of a vibe because Precocious Neophyte had that kind of lo-fi shoegazy. There was a bit of punk kind of going into there, but it was more of a lo-fi shoegaze that was going on in there. And there is some. I don't think there's much attempts to go at shoegaze in here, as more as it is just a lo-fi emo.
Right.
And it's just a natural of how the sound has gone. But yes, I think with Precocious Neophyte, that was a case of the talent was there, but the song structures were very much not quite like they weren't really going anywhere, kind of thing. And I think with here we have someone who is a lot more interesting in their songwriting and their song structures.
Yes.
Like there's quite a bit of change ups that happen here. I mean, Valley Song, which is probably one of the highlights of this record for me personally, that has just a lot of different moments that happen in the song, which allows it to be so memorable. Like that basically kicks off instantly with the like fast paced one, but then the song kind of like starts to slow down and build up and then slow down again, and it's done in an interesting way. Whilst like Precocious Neophyte was basically what you heard in the first 30 seconds was the song.
Yeah. And to Precocious Neophyte's credit, I think some of those instrumentals and those loops were more interesting in some ways. There was more of a variety there, where this is like, if you like DIY emo, if you know that sound, this is kind of what that album is. And it works. Sometimes it really works. But again, the war between the instrumentals and the vocals is kind of the key element here.
Yeah, I get that, and it's a bit hard to obviously disagree and defend this, but I think there is still something nice in hearing how raw some of this sounds.
Oh sure.
It's at least it's not say the energy that Jeff was bringing out. It's a completely different type of energy. This is whilst Jeff was doing the more pop punky, loud, explosive. This is that more emo energy that's going in. The Rosenstock, sorry.
I felt like it was kind of obvious there.
I think you're talking about Mangum until you said pop punk.
My name Jeff.
So dedicated to all
surprised
the
that's
Jeffs
the
out
first
there.
My name Jeff joke you made.
All
There
the
is
Jeffs.
the sound on this record does have a very distinct, like the vibe that Naaki is going for. Sorry, Aniko is their actual name.
Yes.
Is going for on this record. I think is very cohesive, very coherent, and you do get a full album here, which is the comparisons I'm going to do is the one is basically how I've discovered this as Bigger Boot. So I'm going to compare her to Bigger Boot, even though they sound completely different.
Yeah.
Even there's still basically fifth wave emo scene that we're in here. I mean, even probably compare it to all the other ones that we've done, like Masaturi or Frieza. I think are some other ones we can kind of compare this to as Trix makes herself dinner.
Sorry, I was exiting my apartment.
I mean, the big differences in sound is like if we talk about a Bigger Boot, that is very much a produced album, in which a lot of the instrumentation and music happens there. It goes through quite a lot of production and sampling and stuff. That it sounds like a very cleaner record. While this has a lot of that lo-fi fuzz that's going in. I haven't looked too much in the credits. I take a look now. seems like she produces her own songs on it. I'm going to assume it is because it's it is DIY.
Yeah.
From what I see as well, she apparently is going off live. I've just literally gotten some messages from somebody who saw me listening to Naaki Soul earlier,
Oh
and
yeah.
just when she absolutely apparently it gives you tinnitus live, so that's
Hell yeah.
sounds fantastic.
I saw it too.
Tinnitus is
absolutely
always
want to
awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely want to see the sound live. I would assume it'll just fucking go off.
It looked like there was
And
a.
I think it's a record. Yeah, you continue, sir.
It looked like there was a previous record that existed called Soft Copy that on Discogs it was existing at least, and it said it was released in China, which is interesting. I'm very curious to hear what that sounds like. And like I looked at, and it seems like it's the same band. It's not like a weird same name different thing, but
yeah, that's well. The credits on it though make it seem like it's not because it's got all these credits and stuff on there. Whilst I don't think Nylon Songs does.
I mean,
So I think it's a different band.
I mean, Nylon Songs has a band. It is on Discogs.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. There's the credits, but I'm just taking a look at all this. It looks like completely different people. And it's 6 years difference, so I think it has to be different.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know the age of Naaki Soul, but just knowing the age of a lot of people in this scene, I'm going to assume it's different.
Their first track, "I Feel Curly," did come out in 2019. So
yes, that is true.
get up again real quick because I want to double check. And they also played at Mecha Fest.
It does say that. It does say that in a review for Soft Copy that they are Brisbane based.
Oh, okay.
And it looks like the same Bandcamp.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But Annika is indeed written by producer, vocals, artwork, acoustic guitar. There is an Annika credited on Soft Copy.
That's very that's wild.
The link got deleted off of Bandcamp. I have a link supposedly to where the album was.
Ooh.
Now the real question is anything from Mecha Fest playing from Soft Copy that would help, I think, solve this. But
that is. Did we just message Naaki Soul and just go, "Is this your album?"
What's the deal?
Oh, they covered Not a Surf. Interesting. Okay. But no. I'd be very interested to hear what this older album is like. But what we have is cool too.
Yeah, no, this is still a very impressive full length that's been released here. I'm very much I think it does get a bit outshined by what else has been released in the scene because we do have some very well we've got some talented artists in the underground and Naaki Soul is as talented, but just when it comes to the comparison, I'm more going to the Master and more going to the bigger bits. There's Trix needing to turn off her phone for 2 seconds.
But my phone is not vibrating.
Cars are going by.
Oh, yeah. I'm outside, sorry.
Yeah, put the push to talk on. Anyway, it gets a bit outshined, but I think she still does manage to have her own sound in here, which makes it at least it's not a case of like I'd rather go listen to them.
Right.
It is distinct enough. Trix, for the love of fuck, put it on push to talk so we don't get that background noise so I can think.
Sorry.
Or I will come over to whatever fucking state you're in. And my god, once I'm done with you, you're gonna have your own fifth wave emo album to write.
Jesus Christ. On a different note, this might be a rookie card situation because there is a single on Discogs as well that called "A Helping Head" that came out in 2018. And that
is not on here. Yeah.
But it seems like it has a similar art style to what I Feel Curly has going on with its cover art. So it might be the thing of like the early stuff got erased. But
Here we go. So this is what it actually says on the MechaFest thing. So I think it might be because on the MechaFest Bandcamp it goes, the vision for the MechaFest set was intended to be very haphazard arrangement of pre-COVID memories. I wanted to take this opportunity during isolation to make you feel so alone. Going down. For most of my life, I've navigated my identity between two cities, Beijing, China, and Brisbane, Australia. Even though I live in Australia now, I still mostly dream that I'm in Beijing and think that I'm in my dodgy second world apartment before I wake up. So maybe. Tricks, there is a closing song on the new Civic album, which is just nothing but surf sounds and wave sounds, and that is so much what you're reminding me of right now with that background noise.
My background, I'm on push to talk. I'm not pushing the button.
That's amazing because it's still coming.
There we go. Now it's going. It's going now. It's going now. It's going now.
What the fuck? My phone does not like Discord.
Your phone is very sensitive. You maybe gotta up the sensitivity or something like that so that it focuses on your voice. But we can figure that out later. This is a cool little mystery, a cool little band. I think the kind of uncovering all this is making me more interested to continue learning more about Naaki Soul. Especially because there's also kind of that talk about Chinese emo. We have American football or Chinese football play.
Chinese football.
Well, here's probably the confirmation that it is, because Nuances is on soft copy, and on MechaFest it starts with Nuances Reprise.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. I didn't see it, but there it is.
Yep. So that's the confirmation that it is the same. Okay. Well, there you go. It's a shout out to 4ZZZ who has been playing Naaki Soul.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out and be like, hey, can we possibly listen to soft copy and Helping
What's
Head?
the deal with soft copy, eh?
And don't tell me it sounds like shit, because we listened to We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever and give it a good rating. There is nothing you can...
We also interviewed
you
them.
can do here. Yeah.
Also, worth mentioning the soft copy cover.
My goal was to get onto a We Will Look Back at You album.
We probably did.
Probably.
Oh God! Imagine them sampling Dissonant Waves. What a weird moment that would be.
That'd be incredible.
If you're listening, Sholto and Jude, you have full permission to do that. Anyway,
I come out on this album liking it. I think, again, the big elephant in the room about this album is the vocals. It is out there, and at times you get some really... I love the confidence in all the vocals in it as well, to have just these moments in which the instrumentation does take a backside, even if it is for a couple of seconds. Like, Valley Song has that moment where she says the lines, what's the full lines? It's, I'd rather be someone with something, and then Annika with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Fair.
Which, it's a line, man, I'll tell you.
Yeah, like there's a sort of sloppiness to some of these songs, and that feels like it's part of the fun at a certain point.
Yeah. It's a great little album, even if it's not an excellent album. It's still got its problems, and we're still... I mean, most artists who are starting out usually get artists, and obviously Naaki Soul's been around for a couple of years now, as we see. But it's definitely an interesting artist. I'm very, very curious to keep following her as well as everyone else in the scene.
Actually,
Annika, if you're listening to this, please pass over the files to your first album, because I will listen.
And Helping Head as well, please. But
Yes.
I do want to highlight that one thing I think she's really good at that is rare, especially in like the DIY scene. She's really good at the spoken word stuff, especially layering that on top of her vocals. I think whenever she does that, it works out really well.
Mm.
Like there's a moment in Dreaming of Flying where she's doing that, and I think that's like a really standout moment. There's a couple other
Again, we can
ones.
compare that to Bigger Boo, but at the start of Home Invading.
Yeah, yeah, but Bigger Boo's not also singing and also mixing the vocals on top of that.
Yeah,
Like it kind of flips between.
it's the talking in a song becomes a very dangerous thing. Like I've talked a while back, when we did Hockey Dad's Blend In,
Yeah,
about how Bill how Zach couldn't get the talk voice correct, so Billy did it instead. And that's the thing, is that it's the main vocalist couldn't do the talking voice correct. It's a completely different style. It sounds, when you hear talking in the song, you think, oh, that's just easy. You're not even singing, but no, it's basically a different type of singing.
yeah. There's a rhythm to it that you have to keep on to make it work with the song that you
Yeah.
have. And
Mm.
the mixing being what it is, the instrumentals and the vocals fighting like the way that I think they do. When the vocals are competing with the vocals, amazing. Quite like it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So shout out to the closing song. I think it's actually, for being the longest song on here, I think it's one of the better tracks on here as well.
Yeah.
Like I think she's really good as well at letting the concepts breathe and do their thing on their songs as well.
Love You for 10,000 Years is a great song, especially on here. Like it's kind of all builds up to it too, like the Jeff Rosenstock, but not as much. I guess if that makes sense.
Mm.
I also quite like
Favorites.
Yeah, favorites. Stop It, You're Splitting Again is one of my favorites. Password is Love You for 10,000 Years. I also like the way Eeyore's Gloomy Place flows into All Art Ever Made. My least favorite's probably something like Valley Song or Summer Palace.
It'd probably be Summer Palace for me being the least favorite, because Valley Song's actually one of my favorites. I like that. I cried a lot. I like all the switch ups it does in it. I like just the energy that goes into that song. And Password is Love You for 10,000 Years is one of my favorites as well.
Thanks.
Tricks, I'm going to assume, because listen to it in mostly in passing, doesn't really have one.
Yeah, again, mostly in passing. I can give better reviews of all of these albums next week.
Sure, if you wish. Cool. I had to think about what my rankings are now because I completely changed my mind on everything. So someone else wants to start.
I will happily start. My least favorite is Out Loud Chicago. It's just as it is. I'm going to tie Movie of the Week and Everything Is. I have different reasons for putting either one above each other, to the point where I think they both cancel each other out. So I'm just gonna put them as even, and then put the Youth Past and Where You Find Me Now above that. Nylon Songs goes above that as well, because this is just out of personal enjoyment. And then favorite's just HELLMODE. It just fucks.
Next.
Tricks is sounding like a car commercial right now.
Shit, I just, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just that
Okay,
I can
push
hear
to talk
everything.
does fuck all, so,
So good.
because I accidentally just locked myself out of the phone. Favorites, we'll go for, The Outloud Chicago at the bottom, Naaki Soul, Jeff Rosenstock, the Neutral Coast Hell stuff, and then we'll finish it up with the Shakey Graves album at number one, obviously.
Okay. So the way this is going to line up tonight, and this is going to change 100%. This is the most
Yep.
influx I've been in a minute. So the bottom for me is Naaki Soul.
Hold
Still
on,
quite like it.
Tricks, probably mute yourself while you're not talking, just so the sound doesn't come through.
Thank you. So Naaki Soul is at the bottom
One
for me.
sec.
Okay. Still quite like it, but I just like everything else more.
I mean, this was a pretty good week we did this week.
Yeah, this is one of our better weeks. After Naaki Soul, I'm gonna do the Neutral Milk Hotel stuff. I love Neutral Milk Hotel. That should tell you how strong I think everything else is. And we're also doing Everything
Yeah.
Is, which is probably their weakest EP. After Neutral Milk Hotel, I think I'm gonna do Shakey Graves. Quite like it still. After Shakey Graves, now this is almost. Even now, it's.
I'm going to ask you to really think about it, because what you got left is Out Loud Chicago and Jeff Rosenstock, right?
Even now, this
Can
is
I
changing.
don't like to give I don't like to give input, but I think you put Out Loud Chicago too high. I think you should be honest and say that Shaky Graves is better than Out Loud Chicago. And I don't like to give advice for this.
No,
But
I would
I'm
put Out
just
Loud Chicago on number 2 because I really enjoy
okay.
that compilation, but it has a clarity to it that Shakey Graves doesn't have. I wish Shakey Graves was a little more cut the fat on that album. But I am at the peak of my enjoyment for Out Loud Chicago. I am not at the peak of my enjoyment for Jeff Rosenstock. My experience with
Well, there you
HELLMODE
go.
can only go up from here. So
Fair enough.
And let me just say this. Can I give you my rankings from 2 days ago?
Yep.
2 days ago, this was Naaki Soul at the bottom again, then Jeff Rosenstock, then Neutral Milk, then Shakey Graves, then Out Loud. So, changed quite a bit.
Jeff wins again, baby. It's, as you can just say, Dominic, it just fucks.
It's a very good album.
It's very good.
Okay.
Well, now it's time to talk about what we're going to do next week. Who wants to start?
I can go first if you want me to.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to be doing a band I've talked about doing for years. We're finally going to cover the B-52s and see if we can get another couple people into the Fred Schneider fan club, which I am the only member currently. We are going to be doing the B-52s Cosmic Thing.
Cosmic Thing?
It's the one with Love Shack.
Love Shack, baby.
And I'm also going to be tacking on Daisy and the Scouts Maggots.
Searching this one up. Maggot.
Yes.
Dom, if you wanna choose next.
In just a moment. Sorry.
I'm still kind of deciding as well. How
I have my choices. I was just writing. So, all right.
okay.
I have a little bit of a weird collection of things this next coming up here. So, the first thing, the latest thing to get added to this, in doing my research for the Neutral Milk Hotel stuff, I realized that the version of the Little Birds single that is on Bandcamp has a new live version of Little Birds from the reunion tour. So first and foremost, we need to listen to that. That's probably on Spotify, I would imagine. But I just want to have that. Just talk about that briefly next week, because it sounds like it's the final version of what Little Bird should be. So having that be completed, huge moment. Now, moving on from there, I am going to circle back around to the Grief interview that we did, where number one, we talked about Lucas is in a new band, second band that he's in, called Bosses. So I want to do their EP Jokes that came out earlier this year, as well as the single that's come out since then called Transcendental. But that's only a handful of songs. And something that Lucas and I ended up talking about during the interview that is pretty important is that we both have a love for this band that we grew up with in our local area called the Wombologists. Nick Vittori and his band.
Oh,
Incredibly.
and this is the one we couldn't find, wasn't it?
Right. So the thing with this is that still can't find anything about the Wombologists. However, I found in my collection around this time, I was given a CDR of, I guess it's like a jazz septet that Nick Vittori and a couple people from Wombologists were in. Tailor-made septet. And this is very well maybe the only version of the CD that survives today. So,
Damn.
I have digitized it. I'm going to upload it to the drive.
Adorable.
It is very much just people in high school playing jazz, but like this is as close to the Wombologists as we can currently get, and that is the ground zero for like garage rock and my interest in that and Lucas's interest in that, and so therefore pretty important to us overall. So I'm going to upload this little EP of stuff to the drive now. It'll let me.
Sweet.
But even with all of that, that's still only a handful of songs, really. There's like 4 tracks on this CD, and they're all unnamed. They're all track 1 through 4 or whatever. So it's uploading. It's finished. Yeah, it's already up. So with all of that, I'm going to now also throw in another local band that I had a friend in, and this is a little bit of a weird case. So I have a friend named Noah Ice that I was in high school with as well, and he's a drummer, and he was in a band in the mid 2010s called Rock Walls and Tall Women.
You're gonna need to post all of this, by the way.
Oh, I will. I am. And they have an album or an EP out called Making Friends. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. It's even on the singer Calvin Ives' SoundCloud. Now, the weird thing with this that is worth talking about is that the version that's on Bandcamp, the version that's on Spotify, and the version that's on SoundCloud are all slightly different. There's different track listings, and each one has an exclusive song to that version. And I think one of them even has a live version of a song that's on the other 2. So this is a weird little thing that I don't know where else to throw it in, so we're throwing in this. And also, looking at the Bandcamp credits, Noah is not credited, though if you look at the cover art, Noah is clearly there. So I guess he just wasn't doing the drums that day, but he's very much in the band. And this was their only release. They had promised there would be more. They had a little tour, but after 2016, nothing seems to have come out of this band. So, yeah. That's my weird little journey of picks.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I'm currently just going through a bunch of things, and this is around the time of the year where I need to start really thinking about everything that goes into my top albums of the year, and also my top EPs of the year. So we're going to add in a bunch of EPs into this, but also before I get into all of them, I'm also a whore for getting us interviews by picking artists.
Sure.
And I noticed that one of them has followed us. So please consider this, if you're listening, to be the formal invitation to please come on and interview, because God, I beg. I'm picking Summer 2000's Ellie Kemper.
/ Spring 2005,
So that would be
I believe is how they're known on this one.
Yes, / Spring 2005. And the EPs I'm picking, of course, it's going to be the one that was talked about on the interview we did do, is Budum by Bigaboo. It's going to be the absolute collab EP split of Cicada Head, Godfuck, Ginger Bee, and Lobster Fight. And then I'm just going to end it off with the probably going to be the angstiest out of every one of them. The new Tiny Little Houses EP.
What's it called?
Every day I wake, I find another reason not to.
Yeah, it's a mood.
So what is this cicada head lobster fight EP?
It is a lobster, bee, and cicada walk into. Is it walk into a bar or is it just walk into God or something?
Walk into a bar and find God.
And find God. That's it. Thank you.
Shit, I didn't even know this existed. All right.
I had a lot. There was still so many other EPs that I need to cover by the end of this year, but I mean, at some point, I'm going to make Trix happy and pick Teenage Dads.
Yay.
It does have Teddy on it.
I would like to kind of spoil my pick for next week, and I'm doing another EP game, but of all Australian artists.
Ooh. Maybe I'll leave Teenage Dads to you, but we'll see what you pick.
Teenage Dads is not on my list.
Oh, wow. I'm disappointed in you.
Well, they're all kind of like DIY punk acts.
There's a shit ton that's coming up.
Yeah.
I've just been recently introduced into Gut Health. If that's on there, I don't know. If
It is not. There is some weird stuff on there though.
Fair enough. Well, we'll get to it when we get to it.
So
Dominic.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up here.
What have we got?
So
what have we got?
This turns into, if I get it wrong, you have to help me along here. Ellie Kemper by Summer 2000/Spring 2005. Bigger Boots Badum Tish EP. A lobster, bee, and cicada walk into a bar and find God. A lobster fight, ginger bee, cicada head, and God fuck. Tiny Little Houses, Every Day I Wake I Find Another Reason Not to EP. B-52's Cosmic Thing. Daisy and the Scouts' Maggot. And then I chose Rock Walls and Tall Women's Making Friends EP. I'm going to link all those different versions. I would at least ask all of you to listen to the songs at least once. But we'll figure that out. We're going to do the tailor-made septets, tailor-made live CD EP thing. I'll post a picture in the chat of the only possibly surviving copy of this CD. I'm also doing Boss's Jokes EP and their latest Transcendental single. And Neutral Milk Hotel's Little Bird single 2023 version, the one that's on Bandcamp. Basically focusing on the new version of Little Birds that's live from 2014. A lot of shit. But a lot of it's short. Yeah. So doable, hopefully. It won't be a
I think the longest one is Cosmic Thing's probably going to be the longest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 50 minutes.
I don't even think it was that long. I think it was only like 40 or something, wasn't it?
It's around that area, but
it's 47. 47. Yeah,
it'll go fast 47. Because some of the songs are already like Love Shack.
It'll go fast because the B-52s are the greatest band to ever exist.
I fucking love the B-52s.
Uploading a picture of the CD now, and that will do it for us.
That's beautiful. I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on my website, ritalinforkids.github.io. I also have a YouTube channel in the description below.
I'm Dominic.
I've been tricked.
Oh, okay.
I've been tricked. My cat sabotaged me, so I was late to the episode.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to hear more about that later. I'm Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI. For now, on Twitter or X. If they start charging for it, you won't find me there anymore. Dominic Chikoki on YouTube. If you really want to see my stuff, my short film beat is on there. I'm also on the Games My Mom Found podcast sometimes. We are going to do an episode about Shadow Hearts pretty soon. That's going to be fun. And then you can
check out our merch, check out our website, our YouTube page, and all that. We have a Twitter and a Blue Sky.
Yeah. Something you got on Blue Sky, but follow us on Blue Sky.
Follow us on Blue Sky. Follow me on Blue Sky too.
I'm just lazy about that. But yeah, that's gonna be it for us. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, y'all.